loudly proclaimed that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was, quote unquote, virtually dead. He said it was finished, it was gone. This was after the pummeling that this law had been taking over the 2017 in the unsuccessful effort by the Republicans to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But again, last October was a critical moment because enrollment was about to commence for 2018's policy year, and the Trump administration announced that they were going to cut in half the time that people would have an opportunity to go out and learn about rates, to talk to enrollment help, and also to sign up for different plans. They also cut the marketing budget by 80% and eliminated funding for folks at the state level to actually provide face-to-face assistance. So it all looked pretty grim back in October in terms of what that would result in terms of enrollment for 2018. Well, as a famous resident from the state of Connecticut, Mark Twain, once infamously said, "Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." Yesterday, the Connecticut Exchange, the Connecticut Access Health Exchange, announced their enrollment numbers for 2018. And rather than going down, even though they were only able to enroll people in half the time as 2016, and even though they had no budget in terms of trying to actually promote and advertise, their enrollment went up. It went up by 3% in terms of the number of people that signed up for Anthem Blue Cross plans, for Connecticut plans, and for Medicaid plans. And again, it was done because of this amazing grassroots organic effort by libraries, by community health centers, by human service agencies, by hospitals that went out and took on the task of getting the word out that in fact, the Affordable Care Act was still alive and that people would have access to affordable health plans. And sure enough, it resulted in an increase in health plans. And interestingly, the young invincibles, the young enrollees that everybody predicted was going to abandon the program because the enforcement of the mandate was going to be relaxed by the IRS, actually had a very strong, healthy number. And coming from a state that's known for its insurance history, it was the insurance capital of the world, the fact of the matter is getting those young enrollees, those young members to sign up for these plans, in fact, portends well for 2019 and beyond. And this morning, the Hill newspaper reported that Obamacare insurers, actually their financial prospects are looking much better for 2019 because the system is stabilized. Now, again, there's still work that could be done. There's a bill, H.R. 3748, a Medicare buy-in, which would allow people 50 and up to voluntarily sign up for Medicare, again, using subsidies if they qualify, or paying the full cost, which would still be 40% less than the plans that are on exchanges throughout the country for people 50 and up. It would not affect the deficit. And in fact, arguably, it would strengthen the Medicare Trust Fund because you would get a younger population into the Medicare program. So there is work that we can do that is optional, voluntary in terms of trying to provide more choices for individuals out there. But clearly, what happened yesterday in Connecticut and throughout the country in terms of enrollment figures, that despite the active efforts by the Trump administration to undercut and sabotage this law, in fact, shows that the law has a life of its own, that in fact, people are voting with their feet in terms of still trying to get access to critical needs of every human being and every American, which is access to health care. I want to particularly congratulate Lieutenant Governor Nancy Wyman, who spearheaded this effort in Connecticut and who yesterday stated, "This just shows how valuable the Affordable Care Act is to thousands of residents in Connecticut." Jim Wadley, the director of the exchange, who again was not distracted or demoralized by the comments coming out of the White House, but still plunged forward and still persistently and determinedly went out and made sure that people got the real information, the real facts, the real news, so that they could, in fact, take an opportunity to protect themselves and their families from the inevitable problems of sickness and accident that every American and every member of Congress enjoys through their health benefits for every resident in the state of Connecticut. It is time for us to stop the attack in terms of a program that has provided millions of Americans coverage and opportunity to health care. We should work together with bills like H.R. 3748, a voluntary, deficit-neutral attempt to try and strengthen and provide cheaper alternatives for people 50 and up and small businesses. That's the way forward, not this persistent, nonstop, hyper-political, hyper-partisan attack on a bill that has made a huge difference to millions of Americans. I yield back the balance of my time.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson, for 5 minutes.